New intro. So much love and appreciation to those of you who have been with me for the 2 year period plus that I've been doing this. Thank you for showing your love and support to the channel. And to anybody else who is brand new to the platform and you would like to support the channel, also, you can do it by way of Patreon, Anchor, the clothing store, and also the shoe shop that is listed in the comment description below. And again, thank you to any and all of you guys who have been here to support this channel during the 2+ year period. I wouldn't be able to do what I do every single day without you. All right, so as I've stated before on a lot of other videos, normally when I deal with stats, videos like this will pretty much always be underperforming because they're made with just the information that is completely given. And a lot of people don't like the information that is given, especially when it goes against the narrative that has always been spun, right? And basically put out there. So the narrative that we're working on dispelling at this moment in time with the numbers, with the facts that are taken directly from the CDC, has to deal with black men, right? Not being or not wanting to be in their child's life, right? That's been the main thing that you hear all across the board in the black community. Black men in general just don't want to be fathers. Then we have the whole other aspect of what some people want to bring up of black men not wanting to work or black men costing the black community $50 billion, right, a year or whatever it is, right? And some people want to try to contribute that to the fact of, black men don't want to work. They just want to live off of black women and different things of that nature. And then the other thing that we're going to delve into is the aspect of black men not wanting to be in a relationship or married, right, to black women, which has been one of the main narratives that a lot of people have tried to put directly out there and state that, oh, black men, they don't love us, they don't this, they don't that. And all they sit up there and do is go out and marry everybody else. And they don't want to sit up there and marry us, nor do they want to have kids with us, right? So, like I said, this is more than likely going to be an underperforming video, which is to be expected. And hopefully, for those that will take out the time to actually listen and pause the video and look at the information that is directly in front of them, they will be able to take things from this video and inform other people out there so that it can correct a lot of the wrong things that have been stated and placed out there for oh so long for people to believe, which realistically wasn't true at all. They still aren't hiring black men despite 10.6 million open jobs in the United States. It's costing the economy $50 billion. Despite a nationwide cry for workers, businesses aren't hiring black men and it's costing the country billions of dollars, according to a new study by the Center for Economic and Policy Research. The unemployment rate for black men remains high at 7.3% in November compared to 3.4% among white men looking for work. Roughly 697,000 black men need employment, even as the country recorded 10.6 million vacant jobs in November. According to the CEPR study, black men are excluded from the workforce due to racist hiring practices, as well as being killed or imprisoned at higher rates than other groups. This doesn't just hurt black men and their families and their communities. It is also estimated that the lost income from racial discrimination costs the overall United States economy $50 billion a year. By focusing on closing the black and white job gap, quote, we could add about $30 billion annually to the black community and make a significant reduction in black poverty. That figure jumps to 50 billion when factoring in black men of prime working age who die or are incarcerated. For that reason, as Austin stated, the unemployment rate is only part of the picture since it only captures people who are currently looking for work. The jobless rate, or those who aren't working at all, is typically 3 times larger. Quote, since we typically focus on the unemployment rate, we are missing the full impact of joblessness for black men. Austin stated that it would be more correct to categorize it as high, very high, or extremely high. while employers are calling the current labor conditions in the United States a shortage as they struggle to hire black men for working ages continue to have the highest unemployment rate of any gender or race. It's been that way for the past 2 decades, throughout job markets' ups and downs. Experiments on hiring discrimination stretching back to the 1970s shows it happens from entry-level positions to job requiring a college degree. Quote, black job seekers face discrimination even when they have an elite college degree. The CEPR study found that although there are other groups that typically face higher unemployment and labor market discrimination, such as black women and other genders of color, those groups tend to rebound depending on the job climate, while black men do not. Austin also stated that when the labor market is tight, for instance, black women's employment to population ratio becomes very similar to that of white women. One major reason for black men not working is that many of them are incarcerated or die at a young age. Even before the pandemic, black people saw roughly 74,000 more deaths than their white counterparts between 2016 and 2018. And this was according to a report from last February. For reasons like greater infant mortality, environmental damage to the black community, and lower quality healthcare, in examination of the 30 largest United States cities, despite the fact that they make up much less of the country's population. A Brookings Institute study from last March found that the incarcerated black men account for a third of all black men excluded from the labor force. Looking at the statistics like imprisonment for drugs used reveals that the disparity. Black and white people use drugs at similar rates, according to the National Survey on Drug Use and Health, yet the former are criminalized for it at a much higher rate. Black people, who only represent 13% of the United States population, account for nearly 40% of those incarcerated for drug law violations. So, the information that you're going to see directly in front of you is just to dispel the narrative that has been used against black men when it comes to how much black men earn in contrast to how much black women earn on average, right? This is dealing just with the average black male and the black woman. So you see the median annual earnings by sex, race, and Hispanic ethnicity. I took out all of the other ethnicities because those didn't matter for this comparison. It is strictly about what is the black man doing, what is the black woman doing. And you can clearly see that even at where we are at this point in time in the economy, black men are still on average, making 45 grand, right? And then right below that, you have black women at about 40 to 41 grand at the moment in time. So, like I said before, there's a bit of a difference, but it's nothing that's, in a sense, a huge jump. But it also shows the fact that no, black men still on average are still making, in a sense, the most money when it deals with over time. Now let's go to another graph here. So we have, some women on social media who are black who are boasting about the amount of money that they basically pull in. And then you have them as a minority, but they're the ones with the largest voices. So they do not basically, um, in a sense, add to, in a sense, contribute to the main majority of black women who are working standard 9 to 5 jobs, right? So here we have here income inequality by race and gender in the United States. The top ranking earners out of the whole United States are Asian males at $1,080 a week. Number two, white males at $897 a week. Number three, Asian females at $841 a week. Number four, white females at $734 a week. Black males at $680 a week. Native American slash Hawaiian Islander males at 632 a week. Number seven, Native Americans and Alaska males 623 a week. Number eight, Hispanic males at 616 a week. And number nine, Black females at 611 a week. So the main thing that I'm trying to point out with this information here is that regardless of, in a sense, the conversation of you have, some black women on social media saying that, oh, we make more than black men, we're doing this and we're doing that. Overall, as a community, as a group of people, we are losing out to everybody else. And that's one of the main points that I've tried to bring home whenever I just so happen to do informational videos, or if I do live streams or different things of that nature. As a group and as a community, we are losing. It's great that as an individual black woman that you're making $100,000, right? You're making $1 million or multi-millions of dollars, but that does not account for the overwhelming majority of black women who do not have that same skill set, who are not in that same type of job, who are not doing the exact same things that you are doing. Like I said before, people have to pay attention to the numbers. If people always want to talk about numbers and people want to talk about stats, here are the stats and here are the numbers. All right, so these are the numbers that I was able to pull, and this deals with the median annual earnings by sex, race, and Hispanic ethnicity. And you can see the different timelines and the variations in between when people started and when people were able to, make money, and how that's gone throughout the decades. So this is again what people happen to talk about, where there is a wealth gap when it comes to the white and the black community, because these stats basically show what basically took place and at what point in time black people were actually able, to substantially start making consistent income, on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis. And then you'll start to see the exact same things with other groups of people. But what the thing that you'll notice with other groups of people is that even though they had a later start than us, they're more than making up for that late start, right? Within their community, and also their job, and also their education choices, and how they also practice group economics as well. As I've stated before, this is why it is very imperative for Black people, or at least the ones that can, to get together and to start practicing and focusing on group economics, and to start buying back the block, start buying up homes, start, funneling money directly into Black banks, and just focusing on us as a people, as a group, and as a community. This one may be a little bit harder to see, so I apologize beforehand. It states that the number of black families with a single father in the United States from 1990 to 2020. So this is basically dealing with the statistics of a black family household that basically just has the father there. And it says as of 2020, at the very top, if you look, it says 1,200, and I want to say about 30 or 35 households have a black father, a single black father that is there raising his kids. Now, the reason why this stat is going to be very important and that I decided to put that first is it's delving into the whole notion that black men do not want to be in or around their child's life, and they are quote unquote the most absentee when it comes to raising, their child and being directly in their life. Table 1, number of men age 15 to 44, and the number and percentage who have children age 18 years and under living with and living apart from them, right? So if you go to the very bottom, you have the Hispanic origin and race, right? Then you scroll all the way to the right, you have the percentages, right? Where above it says live apart from one or more children, right? So 18.3% of Hispanic or Latino men live apart from one or more of their children, right? Non-Hispanic or Latino, right? White single race, right? You have 8.2%, right? Then you have Black or African American single race, right? 23.8%. So now we have table number 2. Number and percent distribution of fathers aged 15 to 44 with children under age 5 years, by how often they feed or ate meals with their children in the last 4 weeks according to their living arrangement, right? So we go down yet again to the race, Hispanic or Latino, right? So they say for not at all, 58%. For white men, 35.2%. For Black and African American, right, men, you got 31%. So then we go to the next one, once a week or less, right? So we go back again, Hispanic or Latin men, 14.6. Non-Hispanic, basically meaning white, 40.9%. Black and African American men, 26.5. Then we go to several times a week. Hispanic or Latino men, 18.7. White men, 20%. Black men, 29.8%. Then we move over to every day. So then you have 8.6 from Hispanic or Latino men, non-existent for white men. Then you have Black and African American men, 12.6%. Table number 3, number and percent distribution of fathers aged 15 to 44 with children under the ages of 5 years by how often they bathed, diapered, or dressed the child, or helped the children bathe, dress, or use the toilet in the last 4 weeks. So we go down yet again. Hispanic and Latino men has 65.7%, white men 36.6%, and you have black men at 34.2%, and that is for the not at all category. Then when we go to the once a week category, you have Hispanic and Latino men at 11.3, you have white men at 27.5, you have black men at 24.4% for the once a week or less. Then you have the several times a week category, Hispanic and Latino men at 15.7, white men at 27.3, and black men at, I want to say that should be 25 or 26.7. Excuse me if I'm incorrect on that, because it's a little bit blurry on my screen as I'm reading this off to you as well. And then we have the everyday category, which the Hispanic and Latino men is at 7.3%, white men at 6.6%, and black men at a 12.7%. Table number 4, number and percent distribution of fathers aged 15 to 44 with children under the age of 5 years by how often they played with their children in the last 4 weeks according to their living arrangement. So again, we scroll to the bottom and we look at Hispanic and Latino men for the not at all category, 52.3%, white men 29.7%, black men 24.8%. Then we go to the once a week category. We have Hispanic and Latino men 17.6%, white men at 26%, black men at 26.1%. Then we have the several times a week category, Hispanic Latino men at a 20.1%, white men at 35.8%, black men at 32.7%. Then you have an everyday category, Latino men, Latino Hispanic men at 10%, white men at 6.6%, and black men at 16.5%. Table number 5, number and percent distribution of fathers aged 15 to 44 with children under the age of 5 years by how often they read to their children in the last 4 weeks. So we do the same thing. Go to the bottom, Hispanic and Latino men for the not at all category, 70%. White men, 36.1%. Black men, 47.4%. Once a week category, Latino men, 11%. Non-Hispanic, aka white men, 34.5%. Black men, 31.2%. Then we have the several times a week category. Hispanic and Latino men, 14.6%. White men, 26.2%. Black men, 13.5%. Then we have the everyday category. You have Hispanic men, nothing. White men, 3.2%, and black men, 7.6 or 7.8%. Table number 6, number and percentage distribution of fathers aged 15 to 44 with children aged 5 to 18 years by how often they ate meals with their children in the last 4 weeks according to their living arrangement. To the bottom. So the not at all category, you have Hispanic or Latino men at 71.8%. You have white men at 43.3%. You have black men at 45.9%. For the once a week category, you have Latino men at 15%, white men 36%, black men at 46.7%. For the several times a week category, Latino men, you have 11.3%, white men 14.5%, and then you have black men at 11.3%. Then for the everyday category, you have Latino / Hispanic men at 1.9%. You have white men at 4.2% and black men at 2.1%. Table 7, number and percentage distribution of fathers age 15 to 44 with children age 5 to 18 years by how often they took their children to or from activities in the last 4 weeks, according to their living arrangement. So, yet again, we scroll to the bottom. Hispanic or Latino men, 82.8%. White men, 70%. Black men, 58.2%. Once a week category, Hispanic or Latino men, 8%. White men, 17.9%. Black men, 27.8%. Then you have several times a week. Hispanic or Latino men, 7.1%. White men, 7.2%. Black men, 8.9%. Then you have the everyday category. Hispanic or Latino men, 2%. White men, 5%. Black men, 5.1%. Table 8. Number and percent distribution of fathers age 15 to 44 with children age 5 to 18 years by how often they talked with their children about things that happened during the day in the last 4 weeks, according to their living arrangement in the United States from 2006 to 2010. So we scroll all the way to the bottom, and you have the not at all category at Hispanic or Latino men, 62.9%. White men, 29.4%. Black men, I want to say that's 20.7%. Then you have the once a week or less category. Hispanic or Latino men, 12.8%. White men, 36.4%. Black men, 27.4%. Then we have the several times a week category. Hispanic or Latino men, 12.5%. White men, 18.1%. Black men, 34.1%. The everyday category, Latino and Hispanic men, 11.8. White men, 16.1. Black men, 17.8%. Table number 9. The number or percentage distribution of fathers aged 15 to 44 with children aged 5 to 18 years by how often they helped their children with homework or checked that the child had completed their homework in the last 4 weeks. And that is according to their living arrangement, right? So we have Hispanic or Latino men for the not at all category, 81.6%. White men, 70%. Black men, 55.7%. For the once a week or less category, you have Hispanic or Latino men, 10.3%. White men, 19.9%. Black men at 16. I want to say it. No, I might be incorrect. It might be 16 or 18.2. Sorry about that. And the several times a week category, Latino Hispanic men, 4.9. White men, 5.1. Black men, 16.4. And then when it comes to the everyday category, you have Hispanic or Latino men, 3.2, white men at 5.0, and black men at 9.7. Table 10, number and percentage distribution of fathers aged 15 to 44 with children aged 18 years or under by how good a job they think they do as a father according to their living arrangement. So we have Hispanic and Latino men in the not a very good job or bad job category. Hispanic and Latino men, 29.3%. White men, 20.8%. Black men at 19.1%. Next category, an okay job category. Hispanic and Latino men, 18.2%. White men at 24%. Black men at 24.5%. A good job category. Hispanic and Latino men, 29.8%. White men, 37.8%. Black men at 30, I want to say that should be 30.9%. Excuse me if I'm incorrect on that percentage. And then we have a very good job category. Hispanic or Latino men, 22.8%. White men at 17.4%. And black men at 25.5%. So I decided to throw this graph in here because you have a lot of people that want to state that everything that takes place with black men is 100% on them, 100% their fault. And this graph is basically showcasing to you, right, the early, the late 1800s all the way up until, 2010. And it also has various things that took place during certain timelines, right? And how those things also contributed and impacted both the black community, black men, black children, right? And on top of that, the marriages or the relationships between black men and or black women. So you can, at your leisure decide to, pause this at this moment in time to look at this.
Here comes a new challenger!
So this is the most beautiful thing out of the whole scenario because it dispels a lot of stuff. Because the main thing that's always been stated for the longest time possible, especially by black women, is that black men don't want to marry black women. They just don't see it. It just really doesn't exist. They always see black men getting married to everybody else but them. But yet, when you look at this chart, when you look at these numbers, it's vastly different. Huh, color me surprised. It says black marriage in 2017, right? So we look at the left side, right? Among non-Hispanic African Americans age 15 and up, right? Black men married, right? They have 80%, 85% of black men have black wives. Wow. Oh my God, look at that. 85%. But I thought all black men do is go out there and get married to everybody else but black women. I thought all black men did was go out there and get married to everybody else but black women. But yet the graph, the chart, the numbers is saying a vastly different story, right? So then let's go into it in more specifics, right? So the green part, 9% of those black men, right, have a white spouse. 3% of those have a Hispanic spouse. And then another 3% other. And let's look into the black women category, which we already knew, right? Black women who married. 93% of black women have a black husband. Who color me surprised. Oh my God, I can't believe this. Wow, this should be common sense, but it's not common sense because you have a lot of people out there that want to believe a negative type of narrative, right? It's a lot easier to sell negative and detrimental, right, type of information versus selling good and positive information, right? So let's further look into this. 4% of black women have a white spouse, 2% of black women have a Hispanic spouse, and 1% of black women have a spouse of another race. Now, let's look to the other side of black and interracial marriages. How many black men and women have married out? 2017. So we have black men, right, with white spouses, 409K. Black women with a white husband, 172K, right? Black man with a Hispanic spouse, 162K. Black woman with a husband, Hispanic male husband, 82K, right? And then we go to the other section, 130K black men, and then we have the 53K black women. So within this video, what I tried to do, which hopefully I was, successful. I feel as though that, I was pretty much successful in doing so, which is dispelling a lot of the nonsense that is out there about black men not wanting to work, and black men not contributing to the black community, black men not wanting to be with or marry black women, black men not being fathers, and also give valid reasons as to why it is that you have a lot of black men that are out of work, that are not making the money that they are supposed to be making. And a whole bunch of other numbers as well. But at the end of the day, the main thing that is going to happen is that you'll have some people that will listen, and then you'll have some people that won't sit up there and listen. And the overwhelming thing that I especially wanted to highlight was the fact that overwhelmingly black men spend more time in and or around their children than the other groups that were listed. And that is a fact. Those are the numbers. If you don't believe me, you can go look those numbers up directly for yourself. Like I said, I took this directly from the CDC. So if you're saying that I'm incorrect or that I'm lying, then obviously the government must be lying as well. But even more so to that fact, I've seen this even within the community that I'm a part of, right? I've seen my best friends. I've seen their fathers, met their fathers, right? Thrown a football or whatnot, with their dads, sat up there and going to the movies and a variety of other things. So I've seen a lot of the things that take place that they are saying in these stats that are real. I've seen black fathers spend time in or around their children's life, going to games, going to the movies, playing video games, spending quality time, reading stories, going out to places, going to celebrations, going to graduations. Like I said before, I've seen this. Just like the same thing, hopefully I dispelled that as well, where people want to state that black men don't want to get married to black women. That is 100% false. You're looking at, those people are looking at the celebrities. They're looking at the people that they could never actually get. They're not looking at the everyday men that are actually around them. They're not looking at their hands. They're not looking at the women that they're with. Those men are basically invisible. So this is why you have the overwhelming majority out here stating that black men, they're trying to state this as a fact, right? Without any numbers to back it up. They're trying to state that black men do not want to marry or be with black women. And that's false. You can clearly see the stats that both black men and black women are married and want to be with each other. There's a small minority within the community that actually married out and have a spouse or a husband, right, of a different ethnicity and or race. Like I said before, black people, stop believing a lot of the foolishness that is out here that a lot of these individuals want to directly give to you without giving you any type of numbers or references to directly go off of.